What?
What?
What the hell is this?
Harumph. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Give the governor harumph.
Harumph!
You watch your ass.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
Let the show begin.
Hey everybody, this is David Heretic coming at you with another edition of Reactions, Reviews, and Rants. And tonight, alright, we're going back to Tool. Yes, indeed, Tool fans feeling you. Come on now. Here we go. Before we go any further, for those of you who are feeling inclined to doing all the clicks and the likes and the bibbity-boobity bot, do me a favor, before you do all that stuff, please watch the whole video first, okay? Give me a chance to actually earn those clicks and likes. Now, after the video's done, if you still feel like doing all those clicks and likes, then by all means, feel free to click away. This comes as a request from Supervised Chaos. This is actually Supervised Chaos' prioritized request for the month of July for being a silver tier member on the Patreon page. So, here you go, Chaos. Hope you enjoy the show, man. Supervised Chaos want to see me react to this. It is Tool with a tune entitled 10,000 Days, Wings Part 2. See, look, Wings Part 2. Just like I said last month when I did Wings Part 1, and everybody in the comments was having a panic attack going, well, he's doing Part 1, but what about Wings Part 2?
For God's sake.
I told you all. Supervised Chaos would more than likely do Wings Part 2 in July. And look, here we are, month of July, and what are we doing? We're doing Wings Part 2.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Everybody, calm down. It's gonna be okay.
To all the non-believers.
Now, have I heard this song before? No, I have not. To the best of my knowledge, this does not resonate with me in any way, shape, or form. However, there's always a possibility I may have heard this song in passing and I just don't realize it. So as always, if I start listening to the song and I suddenly go, wait a second, I've heard this song before, I'll let you know.
That's the truth.
You know me, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Let's see, this was posted by Tool, no surprise there. And the video has 7.4 million views. It'll get you there. Other than that, there's really nothing else left to say. Link to the original video will be down below in the video description for your viewing pleasure at your leisure. Let's get started. What do you say? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because here we go. All right, here we go. Tool, 10,000 Days, Wings Part 2, audio. Cool. All right, let's do this.
All right, boy, let's do this.
Yeah, now that I think about it, it sounds like volume up as well. Hear the kick drum a little bit louder. Okay. All right. We're almost 3.5 minutes in. For the last 3.5 minutes, we've just had this very, very slow and gradual build. Whether that be through the increase of actual volume, or whether that be through the addition of more layers of sound, like the addition of like the storm sound effects, the crash sound effects, or even the addition of instrumentation, or like I said, it can just be pure dynamics. Like I said, I couldn't help but notice the kick drum starting to get a little bit louder towards about, I would say, about the 245 mark. You start to hear the kick drum starting to get a little more present in the mix. Very, very subtle. And that's the key word here, is subtle. Everything is being done when it comes to the growth aspect of the last 3.5 minutes. Everything has been done very subtly. Nothing has been sudden. Nothing has just appeared out of nowhere and shocked the system. It's all been done very gradually. Even when they do add in more layers and more voices, they start at a piano range, a piano dynamic range, and then they crescendo and they get a little bit louder and a little bit louder. While I can appreciate that, and I do appreciate it, I absolutely do. 3.5 minutes. It's a little long. They could have done everything that they've done so far, and they honestly could have done it in less than 2.5 minutes. Probably, I'm willing to bet they probably could have done everything they've done and had the exact same effect, and probably, if I'm being honest, probably even been more effective if they had done it at 2 minutes. And then we start to hear the drums come in a little bit, a little more present. Now we're starting to feel some actual presence within it, within the percussion itself. 3.5 minutes, a little long. I'm not going to lie. I did feel myself kind of, I hate to say it, but I did find myself kind of losing interest, because I'm sitting there going, okay, I see this gradual growth, and that's great. We're over 2 minutes in. Where's the payoff? Where's the payoff? You know, and I know people are going to say, well, good things come to those who wait. Listen, I am all in favor of that. I absolutely am. And I'm a patient guy to a point. But 3.5 minutes? I mean, well, almost 3.5 minutes. That's a bit long, if you ask me. So, but it sounds like we're starting to pay off a little bit now. Let's see where we're at, and let's see where this goes. guitar just disappeared. Bass is gone. Now it feels like the actual meat and potatoes of the song is actually finally kicking in. Almost 8.5 minutes later. Dear Lord.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but honestly, I am not a fan. This it's just too droning. It just goes on and on and on. The bass riff hardly changes at all. Bum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba doodly doodly bum ba bum ba bum ba doodly doodly bum 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 doodly doodly bum 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 bum. I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on and on. Drumming stays in 4/4 the entire time. It just, I don't know, man. I was expecting more, from Tool. I was expecting more. I don't know. Like I said, it just seems like it's just too much. Not okay. let me rephrase that. It's not too much. It's not enough, is what it really comes down to. For the amount of time that we've just gone on and on and on and on for, there was much more they could have done. And in the past, I've seen them do. Look at Numa. Look at, oh God, what was, I wasn't a big fan of Vicarious, granted, but at least Vicarious went somewhere. At least they did some stuff that was more interesting than just droning on and on and on for almost 5 minutes. It's had its moments. It has had its moments. And the groove is there. And the groove is nice. But it just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe my expectations are just too high for Tool. But that's Tool's fault. They've set my expectations. They set a bar for themselves. And it's high. It's a high bar.
Wait, how can you be semi-perfect? You're either perfect or you're not me. There's no gray area.
I mean, maybe with this song, maybe they're just showing that they're victims of their own success. It's very possible. And in all honesty, that's what I'm kind of leaning toward right now. I expected more because I've heard better from them. Much better from them than this. And I don't know. I'm not really digging this tune. 8.5 minutes. Number one, 8.5 minutes. It feels longer. It feels like it's been 10. Like I did the pause for two reasons. One, I could feel it felt to me like, oh, now the song's kicking in. Finally. And the reason I'm saying finally is because I thought we were about to, like, it feels like we're at the 10-minute mark rather than the 8.5-minute mark. So I don't know, man. I will say Maynard's vocal work on this is nice. I like what's happening within the vocals. All the harmony usage, the addition of, voicings within his own voice, coming in, starting out with, a single line, adding the harmonic underneath, adding the third on top, even going into 4-part harmony at times. I like that. That is, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you folks, it's probably the most interesting part of the entire song. If it had not been for Maynard's vocals, I probably would be absolutely bored out of my mind right now. That's the honest to God truth. Anyway, it sounds like the song is finally kicking in. And let's see what happens here from here on out. Sounds like really kicking in. Holy cow. Everybody fully The ending makes sense. The ending feels appropriate. The ending feels right. I already know what I'm going to say. I've already got my thoughts together. I already know exactly what I'm going to say. I already know what the score I'm going to give it. I just got to brace myself for the backlash. All right, let me get, well, actually, I don't need to get my thoughts together. I already know what I'm going to say. So let me transition over, and I'll see you in the review. And, yeah, we're going to talk about it. Well, there you go, folks. That was Tool with 10,000 Days Wings Part 2. This was a request from Supervised Chaos. And this was actually Supervised Chaos's prioritized request for the month of July for being a silver tier member on the Patreon page. So, there you go, Chaos. Hope you enjoyed the show. I did not. This was not a good time for me. Tool is in a very unique position on this channel. They have really set a high bar for themselves. There's a few bands on the channel that have done this, that have really come out the gate strong. They've really, made a good showing for themselves. They've been represented very well by the requesters, putting some very strong songs forward for contention. And as a result, they've gotten some great scores and some outstanding scores. They've gotten 8s and 9s, usually pretty consistently, okay? So they have set this bar for themselves. This is now the expectation. And when it does not meet expectation, it's far more disappointing for a band that has set a bar this high as opposed to a band that has set the bar this high. When you have a band that sets the bar this high and they don't quite make it, well, not the greatest, but it's all right, because this is the bar that's been set, and it got to be about here, Here's the bar, here's where that song ended up. Now, when you have a band like Tool that has a bar this high and it falls short this much, it's far more disappointing. It is. It feels like more of a letdown, despite the fact the gap is still the same. From here to here and from here to here, the gap's the exact same, but because the expectation is so high, when you do have that gap, that little gap, it feels more significant. So, I did not really enjoy this tune, not personally. I'll be honest with you, folks. If I feel we can be honest with each other. I think you've been watching this channel for enough time. You know me, and you know when I don't like something, I'm gonna say it. I didn't like this. I hate to say it, but I would even. Okay. I don't know if I would be willing to go as far as to say I hated it. I don't know. I don't think. I don't feel comfortable saying I hated it. And trust me, there have been songs from Tool that I have hated. Look at Vicarious. I think that's the name of the song. I don't even remember what the name of the song is. I remember it starts with a V. I absolutely hated that song. Hated it. No, I don't feel comfortable saying hate, but I definitely know for a fact I didn't enjoy this. This is not a song I would ever want to listen to again. Now, having said that, looking at the song objectively, on a scale of 1 to 10, I believe it or not, I'm going to give that a 6.3. Yep, 6.3. I feel good about that score. Let me tell you why.
Why?
Okay, first things first, the 6.3. What does that mean? Spoiler alert, it doesn't mean it's bad, okay? Trust me. A 6.3 would translate to a pretty good scale rating. Overall, looking at the song objectively, I think it's actually a pretty good song. It would also get 3 out of 5 stars and a B- letter grade. Yeah, B-. B as in boy. So there you go, a 6.3, pretty good skill rating, 3 out of 5 stars, and a B- letter grade. Now, how did I come up with that score? Boy, I am so glad you asked. Despite my own personal feelings, I'm going to be honest with you folks, personally, I would put this song down somewhere in the low 4s, maybe even high 3s. I feel like there's a lot of fluff in this song. But having said that, the fluff wasn't bad. Like, look at the first 3.5 minutes. Okay, let's take that first 3.5 minutes. Now, during the course of that 3.5 minutes, it was interesting. There were the addition of layers. There was some play with dynamics. The song, that whole first 3.5 minutes, that first intro, well, we'll just call it the intro, okay? The first 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes was the intro, and it did have growth. It was very subtle, extremely subtle, maybe too subtle. But there was constantly the addition of extra voicings, starting out with just the bass, very low in the dynamic range, like a pianissimo range for the bass. And then you started to hear the bass get not more active, but you started to hear the bass get a little louder in the mix. Dynamics came up just ever so slightly. And then came in the additional voice. I believe we had, was it guitar that, no, guitar came in later. I think it was the drums I think it was just the kick. And then came the sound effects, the storm sound effects, adding a piece at a time. The low rumbles, and then we add the high crack of the thunder, and then there was the rain sound that entered after that. After that, staggered voicings being entered in. And then in came the guitar, and then in came Maynard. Now, the whole time that this is being done with the additions of voicings, there is dynamic play happening within each individual voice. Sometimes a little louder, sometimes getting a little softer. Pulling voices out, re-entering them back in later. So during the course of that 3.5 minutes, there were things happening. They were being done very subtly. Now here's the thing. 3.5 minutes. Do I feel 3.5 minutes was really needed for all that? Honestly, no. I think it would have been, honestly, I think it would have been more effective if they had just done about 2. They could have done the exact same they were done. Shorten up each little section. Cut a little bit out here, cut a little bit out here, cut a little bit about there. Shorten it to about 2 minutes. I think it would have been far more effective. Okay? Now, here comes the next part. From about that 3.5 minute mark to about the 8.5 minute mark. The weakest part of the song. The weakest 5 minutes of the entire song. Very repetitive, just drawing it out, and turning it into a giant ball wash session for, I hate to say it, but it was a giant ball wash session, primarily focusing on Adam. In his guitar solo, his guitar work in this, it was good. I've heard much better from him. I've heard much more interesting guitar playing from him than this. His guitar playing in this was pretty mundane, if I'm being honest. Very one-directional. Now, was that done on purpose? Yeah, more than likely it was. I'm sure that was the plan all along, to fill out that 5-minute gap. Justin's bass playing in that fall in that same pattern, that rudimentary pattern that he came up with. It pretty much stayed the entire 5 minutes, the exact same. Danny's drumming in this during that 5 minutes. Again, it was steady. It was definitely steady. I wouldn't say it was all that creative. I've heard him be far more creative than this. And with a gap of 5 minutes, don't you want to keep your listener as engaged as possible? And I'm sorry, but droning on and on and on and on, not very engaging. The most engaging thing about this song as a whole, if I'm being honest, was Maynard's vocals. His play with tone, his play with delivery, changing up his approach and his delivery constantly. Sometimes focusing more on vowel formation, other times focusing more on diction and pronunciation. The play with harmonies and counter melodics, really nice. Playing with the fifth underneath, the third on top, and then adding the octave in the fifth on top, losing the fifth on the bottom and just creating a 4-part harmony at times, or even just keeping as a triad. I mean, there was some really nice vocal play happening within this. And if I'm being honest, the vocals were the single saving grace of this entire song, were the vocals. But during that whole, now keep in mind, we had that 3.5 minute at the beginning, and now we had this 5-minute span in the middle. So we have 8.5 minutes, which is when I did my second pause. I felt like at that point, when I did my second pause, the song was actually finally coming to a head. Like, it finally hit. We finally had all members of Tool hitting on all cylinders. Here's where the song really begins. And I gotta say, the last 2 minutes and 45 seconds, about roughly, my favorite part of the song. Absolutely, without question. My favorite part of the song were those last 2 minutes and 45 seconds. That's where that's where the groove felt the strongest. That's where the energy and the drive of the song felt the strongest. That's where the life of the song really kicked in. Here's the pulse, We resuscitated them after being flatlined for 5 minutes and doing CPR for 8.5 minutes. We've been doing CPR, and then by some miracle, here we come charging in with 300, and all of a sudden, we got a pulse, and it's here with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left in the song. It is what it is, but I did enjoy the last 2 minutes and 45 seconds. That was without question my favorite part of the song. Between Maynard's vocals and those last 2 minutes and 45 seconds of the song, that is what kept us over 5. Okay, that's what kept us over the 5 mark. We got to that 6.3 honestly because of those two factors and those two factors alone. It's not the worst song I've heard from Tool. It's not, but it's definitely not up there. Not in my opinion. I'm not a fan of this song. If I'm being honest, 100%, I will probably never listen to this song ever again by choice. Now, if the song comes on, it makes for great background noise. Yeah, sure. I could have this playing in the background while I'm working. Sure, I could see that. But as far as driving, no, I'm gonna skip it. If I put this album on and I listen to certain tracks, there are certain tracks I really like on this album. When we get to this song, I'm skipping forward. I'm sorry, but this is not a song I have any desire to listen to ever again. It could have been far more effective if they had cut out a lot of the fluff. A lot of the fluff. They could have shortened this song. They could have honestly shortened this song down to like 6.5, maybe 7 minutes tops. And I think the song would have been a lot more effective. But in any case, it is what it is. And holding Tool to their own standards, this is how I came up with 6.3. Remember, folks, Tool is one of those bands that we've had on the channel that have really set a high bar for themselves. And as a result, you've heard this saying before, they become victims of their own success. Well, it happens. It does happen. Not every song is going to be held up to the same standards as other songs that we've heard from them on the channel. And before we close up, let me just close by saying, I know there's going to be people who are going to say that this is the greatest song Tool has ever written. Okay, look, you are certainly entitled to your opinion, okay? You absolutely are. And I'm not saying you're wrong, okay? If you really feel that this is the best song Tool ever wrote, hey, that's great. That's fantastic. I disagree. I don't think so. I don't think it holds any weight whatsoever, really, with other songs that Tool has written. It's not a terrible song. It's not a horrible song. But just holding Tool to their own standards with this, it doesn't hold up. So don't hate it, but I definitely don't like it. But nonetheless, looking at the songs objectively, 6.3, I feel good with that score, and that's where we're going to stay. So let's wrap everything up here in a nice shiny bow, shall we? We have a 6.3, which is a pretty good scale rating, 3 out of 5 stars, and a B- letter grade. Take your pick, I don't care, whichever one of those floats your boat. Final word, final score, I have spoken. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Reactions, Reviews, and Rants. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Hopefully I was able to entertain you. If I was able to put a smile on your face and brighten your day, that did my job, and I'm so glad I could do it. If you guys feel like joining the fan base, go ahead and click on that button down there. If you guys want to like the video, go ahead and like the video. If you guys want to ring the bell, go ahead and ring the bell. It honestly doesn't make any difference at all to me, but if you guys feel like doing these things, well then by all means, feel free to do so. Well, that's going to do it for the night, folks. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, David Heretic signing off, reminding you to stay fabulous and support each other. Later. Peace.